Hello, everybody. This is Al. I'm the owner of Academic Composition. We've been in business since 2009, helping countless clients get various degrees from basic sociology studies to sophisticated computer science classes. Anything in between, we have you covered. I'm here with Professor Keith Preston. He is a seasoned academic instructor with over 20 years of experience, and he has been with Academic Composition for over a decade. Today, we will discuss the topic of what to do when you have a professor who is extraordinarily unprofessional, who is making you want to bang your head against the wall in every possible sense. Now, Keith, as a professor yourself, you know what it takes to manage a class, and you know what it takes to not be that kind of a professor. What do you tell your students when they come to you for guidance when it comes to deal with a professor who's just outright insufferable?
Well, that can be extremely difficult and challenging for a student when you have a professor who, on one hand, is rather demanding, but on the other hand, is not a professor that's able to give very good instructions. And I've dealt with this quite a bit when it comes to our clients. I've had a lot of clients that they come to us and they want to use our services because of this, because we can help with this. They'll typically have instructions for a particular assignment, often a very lengthy assignment. For example, a capstone or even a dissertation or something like that, or perhaps just something smaller, just a term paper, semester research paper. And often the situation will be one where the instructions are not very clear, the instructions are somewhat disjointed, and then the student will write a sample paper, or they'll write the introduction to the paper or a proposal, and they'll submit it, and the professor says, oh, no, this is wrong, this is not what I'm looking for. But the professor is not able to clarify what it is they actually want. And we have to remember that not all professors are experts at communication. A professor is a professor simply because they have specialization in a particular field, whether it's nursing, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's psychology, whether it's one of the scientific fields. And that doesn't mean that the professor is an expert at everything else. That doesn't mean that they have any kind of communication skills. That doesn't mean they have very good writing skills in terms of being able to communicate through writing. All right, so professors are not gods. In other words, that's what I'm trying to say. They have all the same limitations that any other human has. But fortunately, though, because I have so much experience in academia, I mean, I've literally been involved with educational institutions since I was 4 years old, and I'm almost 60 years old now. All right, so we're talking about 55 years experience in academic institutions, whether it's K through 12, whether it's universities, whether it's graduate school, whether it's postgraduate work, whether as an instructor, and I've taught at multiple colleges in multiple disciplines. And in our business, in our line of work, I've literally helped students complete thousands of assignments, thousands of academic papers on an enormous range of topics. So that gives me the ability to know what a professor is likely looking for when they give instructions that don't seem to make any sense, because I know what a professionally done academic paper is supposed to look like. I know what professors are seeing in their mind when they give out an assignment. It's just that they're not able to articulate it very well to the student. They can't explain it. It's no different than if in your mind you have an idea of what a banquet of food is supposed to look like, but you don't have the cooking skills necessary to be able to articulate to your chef, what you want them to do. And that's a problem that a lot of professors have. But fortunately, because of the academic experience I have, I'm able to come up with that kind of mental picture, because I can think like a professor because I am one, and I can think like a student because I've been one for so many years. And when you come to us and you have these kinds of challenges, you have professors that are saying, yeah, this isn't what I want. I don't like this proposal. I don't like your research questions. You need a better table of contents. I don't like the references you're using. We can correct all of that for you. We can keep working with you and get a paper or a project put together in a way that's going to meet the demands that your professor is imposing. And that can be frustrating. It can be frustrating to a student when they write out a proposal, professor says, "No, I don't like this. I don't like your research questions. You need better sources, whatever." And yet they can't explain what it is they're looking for. So we step in and we use our expertise to be able to help you put this paper together in a way that's going to make a lot more sense to the professor, because it's all about keeping the professor happy. I mean, if you're a student, on one hand you're the customer, so technically the professor is your employee, but unfortunately a lot of professors don't see it that way. They look at it like a student is their customer, or that they're the customer of the student. So, as a result, they can be unreasonably demanding at times. But we can help you with that because we're used to dealing with this kind of stuff in all kinds of situations and circumstances. And we can help you put together the kind of paper, the kind of project you need that's going to get you the grade you want.
Now, Keith, one unique factor about your background is that you also have a wealth of experience working in the private sector. You see, you're not just an academic, but most professors are not as fortunate. Most professors have been in academia their entire life. So tell us a little bit about the challenge that comes with this professorial mindset of being essentially confined to the ivory tower your entire life and not understanding the nature of business or the nature of dealing with a person who may not be at all academic.
Yeah, that can be a problem because some professors do live in their own world, and a lot of professors are people that are kind of like me. They've been in academia and in educational institutions their whole life, but they don't have the advantage that I have of having also worked in the private sector. I've been a HR manager, I've been a marketing director, I've been a salesperson, I've been a sales director, I've managed retail outlets, I've managed service industry outlets. So I have experience in communicating with actual customers, actual clients, and engaging in a way that requires a little bit of emotional intelligence and being able to communicate ideas and concepts to people in a way that many professors do not have. I mean, when I was in college myself at the undergrad level, I had a professor once who was an astronomy professor. And clearly he knew the discipline of astronomy very well, but he had no ability to communicate whatsoever. He would stand in front of a class for an hour and a half and just ramble about things that were just completely incoherent. And it was completely impossible for students to be able to follow what he was saying. All right. But I got through that class and I got an A because I learned how to go and do my own research by getting into the textbooks and getting into other related materials and finding out what this class was about and what this professor was likely expecting. And it worked. I ended up getting an A in that class, even though this guy's teaching skills were basically zero. The same is true with another professor I once had as an undergrad. This was a math professor. And this guy was so incompetent that he would often turn his classes over to his TA, his teaching assistant, and just let that person teach because he didn't know what he was talking about. He had no clue as to, I mean, he may have known the work on a basic level that he could do it himself, but he had no idea how to articulate it or communicate it to someone else. Right? And fortunately, the TA was very good about working with students individually, and I acquired the services of this TA, and he helped me learn what I needed to learn in order to get an A in that particular class. And then these experiences that I've had, I take the experience that I gained from that and I apply it to what we do at academic composition. I'm in many ways we are kind of like a tutor, only we don't just teach, we do the work for you. We take the burden off your shoulders and put it on our shoulders. And that way, whenever you have a professor that's difficult, you can turn that problem over to us and we can work with you on that. And most of the time we can get you the grade you want. We can get you through the class. And it's a far less stressful experience for our client who's the student. And the student's going to do better in terms of their overall academic performance.
Thank you so much. Professor Preston, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please follow us on www.academiccomposition.com. Email us at academiccomposition@gmail.com. If you need help with any academic assignment, we'll be there for you.